Okay, it's Anne Marie, and I'm here today with Alan Kaeja from Kaeja to Dance, and we're just going to have a chat about his organization and what they do and what's going on. So, Alan, can you tell me a little bit about Kaeja?
100%. So Kaeja to Dance was created by my wife, Karen, and myself. And the company is moving into its 31st year. And we have been highly involved. The principal activity, I should say, of Kaeja to Dance is production, is creation production. So Karen and I create a major production, which is normally a full evening work about once every 2 years. But then we do many different types of works, whether they're commissions from others or smaller works for other festivals, things like that. So we probably create maybe 5 to 6 works a year, but that's both stage and film. So Kaeja to Dance, what is Kaeja to Dance? It's a good question. It is an entity and it's a vision. And for Karen and I, we created it to be an umbrella for all the different things that we do. So yes, it's creation, but it's also touring. We tour all over the world. And just before the world shut down, the pandemic, we were touring to Japan. We'd been there 3 years in a row, China, Singapore. We'd been in Israel, the UK, you name it. We're just all over the globe. And it's really exciting because we both have, our duet show. We have our company of dancers. And then we also create where we invite others into the production. And then we have film. And last year alone, we either created or sponsored 29 dance films.
Wow.
And our films have screened and played and won awards all over the world. Both Karen and I are award-winning choreographers, both nationally and internationally. And then we also we have a large education program. We have a fantastic foundation of dancers. And the education program is in public schools, high schools, pre-professional programs, and then we have professional program work. And then the last thing, it's not really the last thing, is our community-based work. And we have been immersed in community for at least 30 years and creating a variety of different programming for community. One of the most well-known ones was designed and created by Karen, called Porch View Dances. And so this year we did our 10th anniversary of Porch View, but Porch View then morphed into downtown dances. We just shot a series of films called Kitchen Dances. Those are in post-production right now and should be finished by the end of March. And so, yeah, there's nothing really that we don't do. We're also published, and I have a new publication coming out. It's about fulfilling all of our vision and being immersed in the world of creativity.
So tell me a little bit about Porch View Dance, because when I first saw the name, when I was looking at your organization, I thought, oh, isn't that a great COVID idea? But it's not that. So why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
So Porch View Dances, Karen and I have been creating with community, as I was saying, for about 30 years. And Porch View was this beautiful vision by Karen about, we were in a staff meeting and she was looking at our living room window and she was thinking, what is the life of our neighbor? Like how would they express who they are, what their life is in dance? Right. And that was just the beginning. And so Porch View started with professional choreographers working with a household, right? And the household could be a family, it could be a series of individuals renting, many different iterations in a household. Sure. And that they would dance their life on their front porch. And so when we started this, which was in 2012, we had on average, started in Seaton Village. We did 2 iterations, one in Seaton Village and one in Jane Finch. But Jane Finch we called Just Dance Jane Finch.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they don't have porches.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different, well, it's a whole different type of community. And so we created to that community up in Jane Finch, whereas in Seaton Village, it's a very different environment. And we have front porches and front lawns and sidewalks in that way. And so we would get up to 400 to 500 people a night. It ran for 5 nights. And there was a tour guide, Maritzi, who would tour the audience through the neighborhood, and we would stumble upon porches. And, there'd be a dance that went on. And in the journey through the neighborhood, we would also have what we called vignettes, where professional dancers would create a short choreography. And the dance could take place on a fence, it could take place in an alleyway, in the middle, on a street corner, things like that. So Porchview became this community-oriented event that then went all over Ontario. So we did Porchview in Kitchener, we did it in Etobicoke, in Ottawa, different communities across the province. And the iteration for Porchview, which became Downtown Dances, was in New Brunswick with the Atlantic Ballet of Canada. So it just has lived completely in many different sensibilities. But the whole idea is a professional choreographer working with everyday people, drawing the stories from them, and the dance comes from them. So we don't go in there and say, Anne-Marie, do this, do that, do this, right? We say, Anne-Marie, when you think about your home, what gesture does that mean for you, right? When you think about, your partner, or if you have children, or blah, 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 what is that? And so we begin to build and draw the movement from the participants. And then when you have a family, they create together. It's stunning and amazing, right? So you get parents dancing with their children, with their pets. We had Quetzal the bird, like you name it. We had everyone. We had one family where the father wanted to perform, but didn't want to be seen, and was a pianist. So he played and the music came through the front window. And that's what
what was accompanying the dance.
Exactly. So that sort of gives you a heads up for Porchview. And
that activity, it's got to be very engaging for any given community where it's going on, right? People, if they're going out on a Porchview dance, they're seeing their neighbors, they're seeing people who are, they don't know much about their lives, but they're seeing it in dance in terms of how they express themselves and what it is that's important to them about living in the neighborhood and being in that community.
Exactly. And we're rehearsing outside and rehearsing on their front porch. Lawn. So the neighbors are walking by, hey, what's going on? Da, 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 da. And that's where you get these large audiences from, because people are saying, so-and-so was dancing on their front lawn.
So tell me a little bit about some of the communities that you did Porchview dance in.
Well, for example, when we did Porchview dances up in Jane Finch, we called it Just Dance Jane Finch, same concept, same idea. And instead of working where there were the high rises or some of the housing there, we did it at a local community center that brought everyone together. And we did the performances. Again, it was still professional choreographers working with regular everyday people. We worked all ages. And we would create a performance in the basketball court, or in the front windows of the building, or in the back park area. And so every community has its own sensibility, has its own identity. And so part of what we want to do is to draw upon that, embrace the community, and accentuate the community. So when we were in Etobicoke, for example, we worked in 3 different areas in Etobicoke over 4 years. And so every community, completely different sensibility and identity. And it was so much fun developing and creating with them, because they just became uh, their own, in a sense, senses of selves. It was really quite beautiful. Ottawa was different, and then with downtown dances, we had 150 performers, and it was businesses that we were working with. So the local coffee shop, or the local bank, or the insurance company, or it was, City Hall. We in fact went in and choreographed on the mayor and the city council. It was amazing, and they were so into it. It was unbelievable. So anything you can imagine. And then right now we're in the process of actually shooting a film called Kitchen Dances. And those are individuals or couples, dancing in their kitchens.
In their kitchens. That sounds amazing. It does. It really does. So, I mean, what are some of the responses that you get from participants in these dance programs? Like, what's most surprising to them, I guess?
Most people are very nervous, right? Because they're not dancers. So they don't spend their lives in rehearsals, building choreography, remembering choreography.
Right.
And what I would say is probably the biggest response, or the most important response for them, is their sense of connection with not only their home, but oftentimes they're with their family or their friends, and they build this world with each other, and they share this world, not only with themselves, but with the community that's there to observe and share.
So what have been your challenges? I mean, the pandemic obviously has made it fairly challenging to be running an arts organization, especially one that engages directly with people out in the community.
Well, for Karen and I, one of the advantages that we had when the pandemic hit was we've been working in film for 25 years.
Yeah.
So this frame is part of our life, right? Or multiple frames. That's just been part of our life. We were actually working in projects where we were working on this new platform called Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Years ago, nobody knew it or understood it, but it worked for what we were doing. So we learned and understood Zoom. And then there was something called live stream, right? So we were working live stream before it was a thing. So all of a sudden the world shuts down and we just go, oh, okay, boop, there we go. We're here. We've been here. It's not new to us. It was just training our dancers, training our staff, like everything went online. And we shifted all of our education programs online. What was amazing to us is that the programs that we have built over 30 years, longer than that, is all about connection. How do we connect with each other? It was amazing how well it worked on Zoom. On these platforms, you could connect with people. I remember I was doing one workshop. It was based out of New York, and there was dancers from India, South America, from Europe, across Canada and the States, everywhere. And people were saying at the end of the workshop that they hadn't felt so connected on this platform as in this workshop, because connection is what we specialize in. It's what we do. And so moving into the world of Zoom and, Microsoft, blah, 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 and Google, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's all about connection. How do we connect on this digital media? And then training our dancers to build, these realms of connection. So for us, it was beautiful. It worked really beautifully. And then we haven't, so as I was saying, we've worked in film for a long time, but then a lot of our work was stage and touring and things like that. Well, we haven't been in such deep film production for probably about 10 years. And now we're creating film. And it's been amazing. It's really beautiful to like re-immerse ourselves into dance film. And then, you know, the governments have been fantastic in terms of really supporting this sort of creation and this work. So for us moving and shifting, I mean, Karen and I are improvisers. And that's part of who and what we are and what we've done for 40 years. So it's an improvisation. How do we take this set of obstacles and create excitement and energy and connection with it? So for us, this pandemic has been fascinating. And right now we're doing this really big program called Moving Connections, Collected Stories. And Moving Connections was conceived by Karen also, but the Collected Stories is a program that I'm running, which sort of combines how do we connect, how do we tell each other's stories, and then how do we dance to those stories? And it's a whole program, and it's just every Sunday morning for an hour, and we dance someone's stories. And we have up to over 60 people a week, and it's beautiful. And it's amazing watching all these individuals create stories, create dances based on regular everyday people's stories.
So I wonder, and this is just me thinking out loud here, but if the fact that you're dancing actually assists the connection using an online medium. Like, I think that a part of what the challenge is about using Zoom or using Teams or whatever is that you're sitting still. I went to a conference, and we actually had yoga at the break, and then we had something else at the break. I don't actually remember what the movement was. It was an Asian martial arts based movement, but it really actually did you get you more engaged because you were moving around, even though you were moving around with a screen.
Absolutely.
So that may be part of it. So what neighborhood do you live in? Like, what is it that brings you joy in your neighborhood?
That's a very good question. So we have been in Seaton Village, which is also known as the West Annex, since 1995. So what is that? 26 years.
Yeah.
So our children grew up there. They went to school there and things like that, and moved out from there. So that's where we're based, is Seaton Village. And we love the neighborhood. It's such a creative, active, vibrant community. It's got a great school, great restaurants. Oh my goodness, in that whole neighborhood.
Yeah, that's such a thing to miss, eh? When you can't.
100%. But also we have neighbors, like, I'm from Kitchener originally. We grew up and we would do big neighborhood barbecues and stuff. Well, it turns out when we moved into Seaton Village, the neighbors were doing that too. And it's just like, it's a community. It's a beautiful community. You would never know that this is downtown Toronto.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in terms of that area. Have you seen a lot of change in the time you've lived there? I mean, 25 years, 26 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that we live for change, because that neighborhood is changing. I mean, Honest Ed's is now almost 1,000 apartment rental units. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we've seen huge change over the decades with not only the architecture in a sense of the space, but also, the change of restaurants and the change of I mean, the school is still there. It's great teachers, all that kind of stuff. So that some of those things are consistent. People move in and out, but people come into the neighborhood because that's what it is, a neighborhood. And they want to say hi to each other in the morning. They want to say good morning. or good evening, or how's your day, things like that. And so it's really beautiful. But, when you head down to Bloor Street or DuPont, now on DuPont is all the
Oh,
condos
yeah.
along the railroad tracks. So there's a lot of change happening, but still the core essence of community is still there. And that's probably the most important thing. And plus we have our dog and the dog parks, and, there's many different ways of connecting. There's local coffee shops, bike shops, you name it, right? And people support each other. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it is amazing. It's really great. So, you obviously you dance, but what else do you do in your spare time, if you have spare time?
I love that illusion of spare time. It's not part of our beings, in all honesty, but I'm a cyclist.
Okay. Yeah.
I love biking. And so I bike everywhere. It's the best way to get around Toronto, 100%. So I'm a cyclist. The other thing that I do is I write. And I have a chapter in a book that's being published this June. And so I have a chapter in that book. Karen and I with another woman, Carol Oriole, have a book that's published. That's for education purposes. I have a second book that's published. I have this chapter in this book. I'm writing another book. So I really love writing, and that's a real passion of mine. So I would say, the number one passion and activity is, of course, family. Karen and our children are most important, and my stepmother and my family and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, and this is when it's not dance or film related.
Okay.
And then it moves into cycling and then writing. And, and they shift order all the time, depends on what I'm up to in that particular day. Whereas for Karen's just a goddess, and she's dancing like so much right now. It's unbelievable. For her to find an extra moment is almost impossible. So Karen is also a choreographer. She's a phenomenal performer. And, and both of us are just completely family oriented. So it's a really great balance for us. But I would say Karen, I think if she was here, would say she's probably actively dancing in maybe 6 or 7 productions.
Wow, that's a lot. So when you had talked earlier about you doing, you and Karen together doing a big production every year. And when you do that production, where would you go to? Every 1 or 2 years. Yes. Okay. Fair enough. And when you do that production, where would it be staged?
It's a great question. So this year, we were going to celebrate our 30th. It's not going to be our 30th anymore. It's our 31st anniversary this fall at Harbourfront Centre. At Harbourfront Centre. Okay. So most often our major productions since the year 2000 have been at Harbourfront. Actually, that's not true. Since 1995 have been Harbourfront. Well, that's quite a long. It's not bad, right? It's a good foundation. It's a good foundation. That's right. So does Kaeja have something special going on right now? I mean, you were talking about this composing stories. Is that your current sort of community engagement project? Yes, that is our current community engagement. It's called Moving Connections, Collected Stories. It's every Sunday morning from 10 to 11. And you can just register on our website, kaeja.org. So kaeja.org. And comes up in your opening window. You can register. It's totally free. All of our community programming is free. It's very important for us to make it as inclusive as possible. And it's for all movement individuals. So we encourage people, if you can dance full body, great. If you can only dance seated, fantastic. If you have to be reclined, no problems. Like, it's all invited, right? You know, we do have closed captioning, and in one of the breakout rooms as well, closed captioning. So those are, you know, what we're able to offer at this time.
Yeah, no, it sounds really interesting. I may just check that out. So, and so the best way.
So much fun. It's so much fun. And it's drop-in. You can drop in and out to any week that you want.
Well, that's good to know too. So, the best way for people to get in contact with you, I guess, is through the website. Any other social you want to connect to?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the three major platforms. And I would say that we're most active on Facebook and Instagram. And again, it's Kaeja. And you type in Kaeja. We're the only Kaejas in the world, primarily because Karen and I created our name when we got married.
That's the way to do it. That's how you get a unique name.
100%. I mean, we didn't know this. This was 32 years ago. So we've been married 32 years. And when we created Kaeja, we had no idea that there were no other Kaejas. There's people who are, their first names are named Kaeja.
Kaeja.
But,
yeah.
But only our children are the first sort of official Kaejas.
That sounds great.
Yes.
So, you know, you've obviously got a lot of passion for what you do. And I guess I'd ask you, is there any advice that you would give people? They want to start an arts organization, or they want to, you know, have arts in their life as their central focus. What advice would you give?
That's a really good question. You know, we do a lot of education, you know, I teach at Ryerson University, the School of Toronto Dance Theatre. Karen and I are on faculty. We teach all over the world to the younger generation dance artists. You know, we encourage them to give it 10 years. Like, think about it, 10 years is nothing, right? At 10 years. And what more could you, like, just invest your passion, your drive, your energy for a dedicated time period and see where that goes, right? And what a beautiful way to really focus your energy if you're excited and interested and passionate about the arts, any art form, right? We're talking dance artists, right? But any art form. But to those people, and we have friends who started dance much later in their lives. We have a friend who didn't start dancing till he was 35.
Well, that's amazing.
Ended up dancing with major dance companies and touring the world, and is in his 80s now. Just amazing. Is basically follow your fascination. Yeah. You know, because sometimes we have perception of what we think it should be, but that's not necessarily what we want to be and want to be doing. And when you follow your fascination, then you're investing in who you are, how you see, and how you see can change the world, right? And that's critical and crucial. And so how do you see? And it's challenging, it's difficult, because you may not see how you see out there in the world today. So it's unique.
You may not have a sort of role model or mentor. You might just have to make it up yourself.
100%. And that's the beauty of it. You know, we're all unique individuals, right? We all have our own personal essence and our experiences and our backgrounds and our history and our ancestry. Everything makes up the uniqueness of who you are. So who are you, right? And we discover who we are by investing and investigating those things that are most fascinating to us. Could be crochet, right? It could be,
of course. Yeah, no.
It could be anything.
Well, no, I'm laughing because my husband's an excellent knitter, right? So and I've got no skill. I've got no skill in that area. All the artistic skills that my kids inherited, I, from my perspective, don't come from me. I have many other skills, don't get me wrong, but I don't have the artistic side. Okay, so is there anything else you want us to know about Kaeja before we break and come to an end?
Oh my goodness. There is so much more, but visit the website. We have a new website coming out,
Great.
and so that's going to have lots of information and all the things that we have upcoming, all of our archives, and just delve in for a time period, see what's fascinating, check out our films, our stage works, our community work, and enjoy. And that's what I would say.
Well, I just want to thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending time with me, and I look forward to learning more about your community programs.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Alan. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.